That's slang for Botox.
Alright, so today we started reviewing a little bit yesterday about time clauses using when, while, and as soon as in the past. So we'll just get back into that. So first, I know we reviewed it yesterday, but we're going to go over this again. Just thinking about the difference between simple past and past progressive. So yesterday, we talked about when each of these is used. So when do we use simple past? Does anybody remember when we use simple past? What kind of action? Yes.
Finished.
Remember? Yeah. Finished or completed action. In the past. Who can give me an example of a sentence with the simple past?
I saw him before yesterday. He was walking on the street.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, what?
You were walking down the street.
No,
So
I just said,
saw
oh.
Tim Howe
no, nothing.
before yesterday.
You wrote his name in red.
I did. I saw Jan Howe the day before yesterday. Our verb in the past tense is saw. Okay. Who can give me another example of a sentence with the simple past?
Just that he walked to the store.
Okay, that's the example we used yesterday. He walked to the store. What is my past tense verb in this sentence? Walked, right? What's the base form of walked?
Walk.
Walk, exactly. And let's do one more example.
I ate eggs.
Okay, I ate eggs this morning.
Did you eat 1,000-year-old egg?
I ate eggs this morning. What is your verb in the
Ate.
past tense? Ate. And this is an irregular, so your base is
Eight.
exactly. So we can think about any of these sentences on a timeline. I think timelines help just to understand what's going on and during what time. So if we take the first example, I saw Jan Howe the day before yesterday. Okay, sometime in the past, completed action. Saw. Okay, let's think about past progressive. When do we use past progressive?
So it's an
Continuous
action.
action.
Yeah.
Continuous
In the past.
action in the past. So it is not completed, right? Who can give me an example with the past progressive?
Jan Howe was walking on the street, yes.
Okay. Jan Howe. What? Down the street. We love you, Jan Howe. That's why we're talking about it. So, Jan Howe.
It's going out.
It's alright. Jan Howe was walking down the street. What verb or verb phrase lets us know that it is past progressive? Was walking. Okay? What ending do you always have at the end of your verb if you have a
ING.
progressive? ING. Remember, anytime you have progressive, it's that be plus that ing ending. And whether it says past, present, that lets you know how you change your be form, right? So Tian Hao was walking down the street. Who can give me another example?
Tayan Hao was eating ice cream.
Okay.
On the street.
So Tian Hao was
It's true. I saw
eating.
him.
Oh.
She knows.
Yeah, she knows. She
What was
walked
kind of
everywhere.
ice cream?
Did you get that close now? All right. What is our past progressive form in this sentence?
Eating.
Was eating. Again, we have our be plus our verb with ing. Okay? Let's do one more. Let's exclude Tian Hao from this.
Yesterday, Saori was wearing short skirt. Wearing,
was
wearing.
was wear cat's pajamas.
Was wearing a short skirt.
For Tin Hao. Yes, sir.
So in this sentence, our past progressive form is
Was wearing.
was wearing. Okay, remember, it is a continued action. It happens over what I call a chunk of time in the past. So if we think about it on a timeline, and this is now, we have our future, and we have the past. Okay, so was walking, was eating, was wearing. It started at some point in the past and ended at some point in the past. But for this, it is a continual action. So was walking. It's over a chunk of time. Was eating. Was wearing. All right? Any questions about that so far? Just simple review there. Good? All right. So we started talking a little bit about how the certain tenses can be used together. So, we can think about the simple past and the simple past together. Okay, this will be more than one completed action in the past. Usually, it's one action after another. Does anybody remember the time words that we use in our time clauses with this? When. Mm-hmm. So when. Okay. So an example of this would be, this is the same one I used yesterday, but or similar. She answered when he called. Okay? So we have two clauses here. She answered and when he called. Okay? So in my first clause, what is my simple past?
Answer.
Answered.
Mm.
In my second clause, what is my simple past? Called. Exactly. So we can think about it on a timeline. And this is now, this is the future, and this is the past. Okay? So she answered completed action when he called. So he called first, and then she answered. Okay?
Oh.
I can also say, if we change our clauses, when he called,
She answered.
so I introduce it with my dependent clause. That means it cannot stand alone. Introduce it with the dependent clause. It is followed by a comma. And then you will use your independent clause. We're still expressing the same idea, just changing the wording around. Okay? So when he called, she answered, or she called when he answered. Those are expressing the same ideas. Okay? Just make sure if you introduce it with that dependent clause that you follow it by a comma. Okay? Any questions so far about this? Good? Okay. I'm going to erase this. So we have when. Does anyone else remember another? As soon as. Yes, exactly. As soon as. When do we use this? As opposed to when?
Immediately.
Yes, yes, to express something more immediate. Okay, so we can still use that same example. She answered. As soon as he called. She answered as soon as he called. Okay? Expressing a similar idea. But as soon as, like we discussed, lets us know it's more immediate. So if we're thinking about it on a timeline, right? So he called. Immediately after that, she answered. Some things that we did not talk about. Can I erase this? It was not necessarily in the text, but we had a good question about it yesterday. We also have words that we can use in time clauses like after and once. Okay? You had asked about once yesterday. That is going to be a more informal use, but like you said, people use it, so it's good to know how it's used. So you can use once and after very similarly. Once you need, it's basically one action as a result of another. So I might say, once I finished my homework, I went to the park. Okay? So this is going to be similar to using when or as soon as, okay, or after.
Once is informal.
Once will be more informal. Okay? So we can still think about it on a timeline. But remember with once that it's going to be more of one action as a result of another action. So, one thing has to happen before another thing happens. So if we're thinking about this sentence right here, once I finished my homework, I went to the park. Okay?
Can we use while? While I was eating.
That will be part of the past progressive, and we'll get to that.
No.
Yeah. So right now we're just focusing on how simple past and simple past is used together. I will get to that in a second. Okay? So once I finished my homework, when that was done, when that completed action was done, that's when I was able to go to the park. I went to the park. Okay? I can also say after I finished my homework, I went to the park. Okay? You can use all of these in place of once, but once will not always replace these. Okay? When and as soon as, I think, are the safest options to use, but like you said, you're going to hear it. So to be able to recognize what it means, basically once means after. So after I can even use it in the future. I'm talking about past tense right now, but after I finish my homework tonight, I will go to the movies. Okay, so you see how one thing has to happen before another thing happens. Okay. We can also technically use before. I'll add that. But you need to think about how it's placed in time, right? So before I went to the park, I finished my homework. Okay? So here we're talking about the first action with once, or as soon as. So as soon as he called, she answered. Whatever time clause you have with that word, if it's once, when, soon as, or after, that is your first action. You have before with it, so before, let me erase this. Before I went to the park, I finished my homework. Okay? So, again, if we think about this on a timeline, if you ever have the opportunity to use timelines and think about how things are placed on a timeline, I think it can be very beneficial. So before I went to the park, so I know at some point I went to the park, right? It's completed action in the past. Before that action was completed, I finished my homework.
So it is the same. Until I finished my homework, I went to the park.
No. Until I finished.
Until.
Yeah. Until I finished my homework. Usually you express a negative, so like until, let me think about that. Until I went, like I might say, I could not go to the park until I finished my homework. Trying to think of other examples for you. Yeah. Usually you have some kind of negative expressed with until. So, example, until I finished my homework,
I could not.
I couldn't go to the park. Another example, I didn't eat until I exercised. Okay? So we can still use simple past and simple past. But you're going to have some kind of negative usually within